Hey everyone, Craig Williams here, back with another video. In this video, I'm going to show you, give you a little bit of introduction to saturation and how I use it in my tracks and the plugins that I use, and also plugins that you can use if you don't have the third party available. So first up, I'll show you the plugins that I use, and the main ones I sort of reach for. I find that I reach for all the time is the PSP Vintage Warmer. I find this is really good. It's really easy to use, and you sort of don't need to be a rocket scientist to sort of get things sounding good. Next up is the FabFilter Satin. This is really good because it's a multi-band distortion. So if you're using it on bass, you can also bypass the lower levels and just apply the saturation to the upper level, so then you get that nice sort of fuzzy upper sound, but you still keep like the nice round bottom end of the bass and stuff like that. And lastly is the D16 Decimort. This one I use a lot on hats. I find it's really good. As you can see here, it's got like in the preset name there, it's got it does like 909. It's got the SP1200s. It's just got like, it's a kind of a bit crusher bit, also an emulation of the old drum machines and stuff like that. So it's really good to use. We can take that off now. If you haven't if this is all new to you and you haven't really looked into saturation and stuff like that, you might be already doing it and just not even realizing it. So some of the things I like to use saturation on, I mean, obviously you can use it on anything, everything. You could use it on every individual element, and also on the master mix. You could use it on buses and stuff like that. But I find if you sort of pick and choose the elements that you use it on, and not go overboard, that you can get some sounds to really pop, and you can get the overall mix to sound really good. I find that if I overuse it, that it can really kill a mix, and then you end up having no headroom because everything is sort of punching through so hard. So the first thing I'm going to show you, I use it on the hats. We've got just a simple little hi-hat line here. Nothing too crazy, and all that is just the Audio Realism, the drum machine, and all. It just got the 909 hats there. Now, what I've just got a EQ on there, just taking out some lower end. I haven't sort of added anything to the EQ. I've just taken away some lower end and got some reverb and some sidechain compression. So at the moment, it's pretty clean. You can hear it, but it's still really clean. And for the track that I'm making, I want a little bit more grit. I want some dirt, and I sort of want the sound to sort of punch through the mix a little bit more. I don't want to sort of add too much just by turning up the volume, because it's still super clean. I want a little bit more dirt to it. That's where you start to hear things like analog warmth and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to sort of get into that, but these are sort of the things that people are talking about, where it's a sound can be perceived as warmer by adding different plugins and stuff like that. So for this one, I'm going to use a bit crusher, and if we reset it, you can hear it there, and then if I go extreme, you can hear the distorted bit in there, and then if we just back it up a little bit, and it's still there. And then I want to punch through a little bit more, so there, it's punching through. I'd probably take the volume down a little bit to help it sit in, but for now that sounds pretty good. You guys can hear the difference. Got a little bit of dirt on there, and that one's super clean and sort of sitting lower. Another good thing to use like saturation on is like the bass lines, like tom basses and stuff. So turn this up a little bit for you. So we just got a simple like an 808 kick / bass line, or a low tom or whatever. So for this I want, let's see if I bring up the multimeter. So you've got a little bit here, but most of the sound is sort of coming in around 60 Hertz. So what I would do for the track is add the FabFilter saturator. You can see it adds a little bit more, and you obviously can hear that it has a little bit more. Now not everyone has this plugin, so another method you could use is something that I showed in a past tutorial, but it's been a while, so I can just quickly go over it again now, is to duplicate the toms onto the next track, what we've got here. And then we want to add, take that off. So it's the same again, it's just a lot lower in the mix. So if we turn it up, so that's the same as that one. And if we go and one good thing to add sort of a little bit of that saturation distortion is to the guitar amp. So what we want to do is just pull this down in the mix, because it's going to be pretty loud. You can hear sort of the upper distortion bit. And before I continue, that saturation is not necessarily just distortion, so don't get sort of confused by that. It can add distortion, but in essence it is not distortion, or kind of is but it isn't. But I'll leave some links in the description so you guys can read up on it. So we've got that sound, but we've got a lot of low end still. So what I would do is bring in another EQ. We can pull this. So this is sort of like a wet and dry of the saturated sound to the non-saturated sound. So if we have the two together, and then you can pull it down. If we unmute one, you can sort of hear it there, and if we play it in the mix, so there you go. Adds a little bit more, and helps it sort of punch through the mix a little bit more. Lastly, other things you can do is you can add saturation to a whole drum bus. So you could use the PSP. These are the kind of extreme cases. If you've sort of done, if you've applied saturation to a couple of elements, not necessarily sure if you'll need it on an overall bus, but you can apply it anyway, and if it works, it works. There's no sort of rules and whatnot. So here I've just applied just the simple preset final mix, and this is just to the drums. If I take it off, obviously it's a lot louder, but make sure you don't perceive loudness as better. And obviously you've got the sort of mids, high mids and highs. It adds a little bit more to it. That one sounds a bit more muffled and sort of the mid-range and stuff like that. So there are a couple of little methods that you can use for saturation on different elements. Go nuts and try it on a bunch of stuff. It's really good to use on synths. Use it sparingly on vocals and stuff like that to really help them pop in the mix. And just try and find what works for you. Like I showed you the plugins that work for me. Just go along and just have a play around and see what different bits work for you, and try and really help elements pop in your mix and make it sound a lot better. So don't forget to subscribe, like, share, whatever, and also hit me up on Facebook, SoundCloud, Twitter, Instagram, whatever else there is. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Until next time, see you later.